Welcome to Strategy and Solidarity Pod, the podcast, an act of revolutionary defiance and celebration of the things that bring us comfort, solace, and joy as we work to reclaim our humanity. Together, I am Carlos Kareem Wyndham.
And I'm Theresa Logan, and together we are the two psychos. I think I'm just listening to the intro like somebody called us the two psychos on YouTube comments or whatever it was, and just like, oh, we sit here talking about revolutionary love and responsibility, and that seems psychotic to people.
It really does. Yeah. No, we've been getting some fan mail, which, listen, I honestly appreciate it a little bit because what I know is that we have a free condominium in that young man's head or old man's head, or bot's head. I don't know. But you know what? If
But
AI is
absolutely
becoming
male
sentient,
gendered.
yeah, whatever it is, whatever that male gendered AI that is becoming sentient is, in the same way that gross bowl of South African vanilla pudding did and got its hair plugs and took over the world, then listen, I want it to hear me say it as well.
Hey, Carlos, how's your
Yeah.
nervous system doing today?
Oh boy. Um I
Do you want me?
have
Do you
been
want me to tell them what happened?
No, 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 no. We'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, everybody who knows where we live will figure it out anyway. So we'll get there. It's fine. I've been a little ready to rumble today. Is how I have felt. Those who were live with me this morning, which was very lovely. We had a little group as we were doing the live Monday moment, which is available now on the podcast stream and all the places, and certainly in the app. I talked a bit to the things that solidify my resolve and what that looks like, and how sometimes it is uncomfortable, and breathed through that. And I found deep appreciation in seeing, if not being able to smell my child. And in
Because she was
what
on a
was
screen, or because you can't smell?
because I can't quite smell everything exactly right now. But also, it was just wonderful taking her to school and being in touch, and like being back after a trip to San Francisco for the SF Sketch Fest, which was very successful. Thank you so much for your though last minute decision to accompany me, and for us to be able to host a meetup in Oakland. We did meet some very beautiful people, very successful, not as large as one might want, but that is not always the sign of success. Yeah, it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. So thank you for coming down and helping make it an extended work trip, and help keeping me grounded, because sometimes I get a little unmoored. Check out the last podcast if you like some evidence of that. How is your nervous system, Theresa?
I mean, I'm okay, but I'm definitely a little. I don't feel on edge, like hyper vigilant, but I definitely feel a little bit scattered and like having a hard time focusing. Um, as perhaps getting tear gassed while not actively at a protest, just driving down the freeway might do to one, which
And
was
there's the reveal.
for our lovely listeners. What happened as we drove, because we didn't fly for a variety of reasons, but we drove back from San Francisco area to Portland, which is 10 to 12-hour drive, depending on road conditions and how many times you stop. And we're greeted as we had a beautiful, clear, lovely drive all day and arrived in the City of Roses to a very foggy evening, which seemed strange because it had been such a clear day on the entire West Coast. But that happens sometimes. It's just like fog rolled in for whatever reason in Portland until it smelled really bad, like maybe a car was on fire, and then also like my nose was all itchy and my throat started burning. And I looked at where we were and I said, "Oh, that is ice over there. Did we just drive through a giant cloud of tear gas?"
Yeah.
To which
I
you, through
thought that you
barely being
had
able to speak, said, "Yes, yes, we did."
yeah, absolutely we did. I for one moment, and I think it was a hope more than a thought, but that as you closed your computer, hoped that maybe you had opened some bad food because I had a very good hunch. And all I saw was motion, right? I didn't think it was a
Nothing
you thing.
we ate in San Francisco or Oakland was bad at all. None of it was definitely bad enough for me to have created that kind of smell from my
No,
body.
no, no. From not your body, from a box, as though you had
What
a
would
box
smell
of
like
food.
that? A box of what?
Nothing would smell like that. It was a
Okay, it was a
hope.
hope in the brain.
It was a
Yeah,
hope,
like I
and it
called a
wasn't
total
even in the
flop.
brain.
Fair
It
enough.
was like my body was just like, please not,
Uh-huh.
because I have some familiarity, both with the flavor and lovely fragrance. That was I would guess that there was more than just tear gas involved with that, um, based on past experiences. But it's gross and painful.
I mean, I need to, as I have done on social media several times, convey to people this was not like, "Oh, is there a fire over there? It looks like smoke is coming up." This is not like we just drove through a momentary drift of some gaseous substance that could have just been like a cloud or something. This was like it looked like the whole city was blanketed in thick fog, like
Yeah,
on a
well, it
foggy
was stuck in the valley.
day at the
It was
coast.
stuck. Yeah. They blew out a whole bunch of chemical all over these babies and young parents who were protesting, and it there's no wind, and so it just stuck in the valley. And then at night they did it again to the ICE protesters, and so now you got tear gas, you got what looked to be mustard gas. I was not there, but tear gas is not that color. And then whatever the fuck we drove through that they hit ice with, all kind of like just piled up all over that part of Portland. Is really very distressing.
And just to be clear, it was not anyone hitting ice with anything. It was all ice hurling excessive quantities of chemical weapons at the citizens of Portland, whether they were the citizens actively, peacefully protesting in front of the ice facility, or those driving by on the freeway, or those living in their apartment next door, or those going to the doctor's office. Um,
Or houseless neighbors,
yeah,
or
it's like they,
animals.
yeah, it's
Your
pretty much like they
dog.
tear gas like
The tear
a
gas
quarter of the
Portland.
city.
The tear gas Portland is it was apt like the what you might see on your tiki taki and all of that, like in the immediate, is very dramatic, but like um people are going to suffer for a while. Like I personally am disabled. I have asthma as well as MS. And this shit started choking me as I'm doing 60 on the or 70 on the freeway, and like, bruh, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, I mean, I know what they're doing, but like, it's just disgusting. It's upsetting. We got the least of it. For me, it is physically at this point mostly just irritating. My mouth still burns like I just ate some very, 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 very hot peppers. Um, there's burning in my nose. Last night, my entire back just uh once I got to my house, like it took a minute for it to settle in. My back just burst out in a rash that was inexplicable by anything else. And the more I touched it, the more it spread. Uh, by the time I had gotten in the shower and I did get it all off, it got to my naughty parts on the back, and it
Oh
was,
no.
yeah, no, I got it cleared up, but it was just very, once I got out of the shower and toweled off, it was fine, but it's like, it's because I know what side of the political scale I am on, and because I know the intensity uh, by which the people standing 10 toes down for humanity were met. And I can taste it. And I sound like Lucille Ball when she was 79. Like that, all of that is um, a byproduct. I have to say, in this moment of not all, of many of my friends and family, and I am expanding that understanding of who that is, who told me since 2016 and since 1987 and since 1984 that I have been overreacting to what is happening. And Octavia warned us. I knew I didn't like that book when I read it because I was already very freaked out, and I did not really need like more. And I read it in '92, and I was already super paranoid and like, yeah. So listen, hey, there's beautiful things in the world. How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? How's it? How's your? How are you navigate? How are you feeling? How's your body? How you feeling? How's your spirit? How you navigating this experience?
I'm okay. I'm more concerned about the people who are down there stuck in the middle of it. Like you said, the kids and the union, you know, union locals had organized the protest. One of the, there were multiples, but one of the protests on Sunday, billed it as a family friendly event, intended it to be fully peaceful. We're not looking to antagonize, we're looking to make a statement, and are the ones who got tear gas on Sunday morning with lots of old folks and children and babies in strollers when they just started firing tear gas at the crowd, indiscriminately and without cause.
Yeah,
Um,
y'all seen on YouTube them old ass people in like blue shirts and stuff at the Portland protest. That's who they're gassing.
you talking about our
That's
friends
who
at the
they're
Portland
gassing.
Peace team?
I am talking about our friends at the Portland Peace Team. These are people who are at least 10 to 15 years my elder. Whatever. Not whatever. I'm sorry. Keep
Yeah, and
going.
those are, some of our friends who are over there working really hard to show up with volunteers at every protest that they're invited to attend to try to make sure that they are de escalating and keeping things peaceful and nonviolent. So I'm more concerned about the folks who are there in person. Um, on Sunday, the folks, I think my mother was at that protest on Sunday.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
or was it Sunday or Saturday? I think it was Saturday. That was a Saturday one. And then there were more yesterday, and they were going, I mean, they were actively firing off tear gas and flashbangs at the time we were driving by at about 6:40, 6:45 at night. By 11 o'clock, they were still firing more tear gas and flashbangs and things out at people. I would tell
Mm.
folks, especially if you're in Portland, to follow this person on Threads. They may be on Instagram as well. Their handle is underscore that Blasian though. ThatBlasianThoo. This person, unfortunately, has the misfortune of living across the street from the ice facility and having a balcony that looks directly down on the mayhem, and they pretty much have a camera up there and are posting a lot of footage to let people know what is happening, and making the point that this is not something that's only happened the last 2 days, though it has been. See, I have a hard time figuring out what to call this because I'm like, firing any tear gas at protesters is an excess use of force. There was no call
Beyond
for
that,
any of
no,
it to be used. Period.
that's a violation. That's a UN
Period.
violation. That's a UN
But
violation.
and
You
the
violated the human rights.
quantities that they are firing that are just filling up the entire city well beyond the vicinity of the protest, even if the protest had gotten violent or something, which it did not, and even then would still be uncalled for, the quantity that they're firing into the air to just put chemically poison the entire city is just outrageous. But that person also has a GoFundMe up there to help take care of, they got to be walking around their home with a gas mask and air purifiers and things because they live there, not having where else to go right
Yeah.
now. So I would follow that person if
What
you're
is the
local
handle again? One
and
more time.
support to them. Underscore that Blasian though, and we'll put that in the notes. I say that like they're gonna magically appear, but I know there's a thing you have to actually do. So make sure I send it to you.
Yeah,
To put
actually,
in
every
the,
time, no,
in the
every time you
program
say
notes.
that, I have to write down the time. So that's fun. A little behind the scenes. Everybody loves to know. And here's another one. You will have to send it to me because I don't have my pen here.
I will. I just put a clip. I just marked the clip so we'll know where it is.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I'm more concerned about the people who are suffering the more direct impacts of this.
Deeply,
It was
deeply.
unpleasant.
Not to mention their captives. Not to mention
the people stuck in those facilities, right? So that's
I used
where my
to work
concern.
in the. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
That's okay. I said that's where my concern primarily lies, is with the people being much more directly impacted than me. It was like disorienting and confusing to drive through. I think we missed our turn and our exit, and I got home and checked in with my kids and thought I was fine. And then after, I don't know, hour and a half sitting at home, I was like, no, my whole body feels itchy and my throat and my nose are all sore, like irritated. And taking a shower did help. I make sure I got my clothes off and try not to touch my kids any more than I already had. It does have me a little, my nervous system a little, I just feel a little bit unfocused, just a little bit distracted by the whole thing. Hard to just kind of come back and focus on something else. It's one of those times where it's helpful, but it also can become obsessive in a non-helpful way for me. These are the times where I find that I do jump back to social media. Like I think last week I was talking about, I haven't really been there in a couple weeks because I'm trying to focus my energy on real life with the real people in community with me. And
Right.
that is still true. And it's those times where it's like, so I just got tear gas driving back into Portland, and on Threads is primarily, I think I posted an Instagram and got like 7 likes, and I posted to Threads and it was at over 2,000 last time I looked. And so the positive there of feeling like this is sharing important information with other people and validating that even though there was nothing about it on the news or informal media anywhere, there were other people having the same experience as us on the freeway. There were people all the way up to PSU, if you know Portland, some people all the way down to Milwaukee, talking about they could smell the spiciness of the air, being like, what is happening?
Milwaukee. Jesus. Okay, all right. So yeah, for people who do not live here, that is not close. That is not close.
If it flows down the river, right? If the wind is following the current of the river down to Milwaukee, the next kind of past the Portland city limits, we're not that far away from it there. But people are like, why is the air spicy? But again, I need to say this was not.
How would you feel about Boulder being spiced out and then it gets all the way out to you, Longmont, Lafayette, Louisville, like just from one city? And I'm saying like maybe it happened in deep South Boulder and got all the way down from like maybe even Netherland. Like it was a cloud, my people. And I'm speaking Colorado terms because I know distances there. I don't know distances here as well.
And again, not a cloud like a discrete thing. It wouldn't be like, that's a cloud. It was like there is a deep fog covering the whole city. Just like
Mm.
need people to understand this was not like, oh, I can see where that smoke is rising from, or oh, that's a thing that's getting dispersed over here. Like, no, it was like a huge fog carpeting, blanketing the entire city. Like,
It looked
I
like
don't even know
driving
how many
into
canisters
South
they must
San
have fired.
Francisco. Like, it shouldn't look like that here. It looked like driving into South San Francisco, and you just see the cloud over the bay, right?
Mhm.
Over the industrial area. That's what it looked like, but it was tear gas.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, it's upsetting. Okay,
Anyway,
grounding.
so I will say the silver linings, right? Like I'm connected to a bunch more people via social media. Someone over
Ah.
in the Pearl offered to get me some wipes to get the tear gas off because I guess there's some special wipes that help get it off
Oh
because maybe
yeah,
water or steam sometimes, depending on if you even know what you got hit with, may or may not be the thing that's most effective in getting it off your skin. This person was like, I got some wipes in my, med kit. If you need some, you could come get them. I was like, "No, I'm sure someone else gonna need them more than me, but
yeah.
I need to research and figure out what those wipes are and how to get a pack myself in case of emergency for myself or others." So like that's good to know. Following these people who got the cam to kind of have more sense of what's going on because there was nothing in local media about what was happening after what we'd seen. There was nothing I could find about it online. We were like, was this from
Mm,
earlier today? Was it from yesterday? It's like, no, it was actively happening as we were driving by and continued on well into the night. And
yeah.
again, what I saw some people speaking to in social media was like they're going, guns blazing all out on every single protest because they do not have the capacity and manpower most specifically, to come and do in Portland what they're doing in Minneapolis right now. Like they could pull everybody out of Minneapolis and send them here, and that may be their plan and what we need to be prepared for next, but they don't have enough capacity to do both at the same time. So they're using shock and awe tactics to try to shut things down.
Yeah.
That was one thing for me I was thinking about in terms of strategy and solidarity. I'm like, if you know they're going to gas you every single night, do you keep going? Is that form of protest the most impactful use of resources, time, energy, and well-being, given what's happening? Um, I have some thoughts, but I'm curious if you have thoughts.
I mean, I think
And that's a
that
question. That's not a statement disguised as a question. This is a genuine
yeah,
question.
yeah. No, I took it as that. I think that for the time in which we find ourselves, um, I think it is a challenge, right? Because we are sitting in a tinderbox that is created by many, many factors. Uh, Not least of which is that the UN is at the brink of financial collapse because the United States isn't paying its bills. We have taken on a Trumpian approach to global banking, which is to get services and then not render your pay. Um, which means that The Hague is at issue, which means that to whom is there to take these complaints? There's nowhere to take this shit anymore. So with all of that, and it is with all of that, right? Like all of those comorbidities of this grotesque cancer that is growing of authoritarianism and violent authoritarianism, um, and disregard for politics, disregard for political figures, disregard for media figures, arresting media figures, um, and murdering, continuing to murder. I don't think that we have especially if we have the equipment. I don't think that those who are on the front line have the option to walk away at this point. I really don't. I were I of that ilk still, uh, not an elder, not in um not in the life that I am holding now at 54. And it was, it still is, and that's the thing, is understanding it still is skin in the game, right? But for me, part of this, the solidarity is to be able to see, witness, understand, empathize with, believe, and know that that is the strategy that youth takes. You go to the front line, and I'm including people up to like 45. I'm not trying, and I'm not trying to diss anybody. I'm not
Have
counting.
you seen the average age at most of these protests lately?
You know what I'm saying? Have you seen our
Have been like
protests? Like, we're
60,
wild. We are
55,
wild.
65.
This is Portland. We don't play. Okay. So, like, I'm not suggesting that, like, it's like, if this is your eighth protest in life, I'm talking about, are you young at this? Do you have the energy for being in the streets? If you do, be in the streets. If they're coming, they're coming. I mean, it's beyond the scope now. There ain't nobody else to tell. Nobody else is coming to save us anymore.
And
There's
they
no
never were.
UN.
They never were.
I mean, there could have been a UN army that could have come had we been
They
part
were
of
never going to
what,
invade the
but we
US.
could, but they couldn't be, because we're the ones who pay for the UN army.
Yeah,
So, like,
so
we're not, we're and
exactly.
now
No one was ever coming.
we know. I don't even want to talk about what I learned this morning. Anyway, so that's where I'm kind of at, and I'm learning more and more about the atrocities and depravity of the very specific people, including many members of our own very active right now Supreme Court and President at the island of Epstein, and
Okay,
we are in trouble.
let's come back to that one, if we can.
Well, they're all
If I can finish,
connected.
I know. If I can finish my thoughts here, though.
I would love for you to
And we'll
finish your
come
thought,
back to
because
that.
this is what happened before,
Yeah,
when I
that's fair.
went over the edge.
You're not.
And
I mean, the world's over the edge. You're not over the edge. It's a reasonable response to what's happening right now.
yeah,
I want to come back to that one before we go all the way into Epstein.
all right.
To talk
Let's
about protests. Well, because I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm looking at the people like, why would you take kids to protests? It's like kids be out at protests all the time, especially in Portland when people are wearing frog suits and dancing in the street. And we know generally daytime peaceful protests led by all the old people are not the ones getting tear gas. Now, the nighttime ones led by the younger people are usually when the flash bangs and tear gas come out. So for them to be like gassing people on a Saturday, Sunday morning when there's kids and strollers and things around, like they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
They knew who was out there. They did that on purpose. Blame
They're
the people who
terrorists.
are to blame. Do not blame the people who are trying to take action, even if the action they take is imperfect, right? Make
Or
sure
if
that
it
we're keeping
irritates
our
you.
focus on where the blame actually lies. It does not lie on the parent who took their child out to learn how to assert their First Amendment rights. It lies with the ICE agents who fired tear gas at the children and the babies in strollers. Like, that's where the responsibility lies. We need to be very cautious in these times to keep our focus on where it matters most, where the blame truly lies, not with who's like, they're like, why didn't they take I saw someone else being like, protesters should know to take leaf blowers, but I guess carry on. It's like, you can't leaf blow away fog carpeting the whole city. You don't understand what we're talking about. Maybe leaf blowers work for one or two canisters, but not if you got a dozen out there and it's the whole city. Where you gonna blow it to? You just gonna blow it onto someone else? Where you gonna blow it to?
Dozens
Anyway,
and dozens and dozens and dozens. It
but
looked like the bay had been, like the entire valley had been
yeah,
filled with fog from the water and somehow just stayed there. That's what it looks like. It did not look like
we have foggy.
anything.
Usually it's more mornings than nights here, but we have fog on occasion in the winter. It's winter. I just saw, it's foggy in Portland. That's weird. That's a rapid change of climate. Like, you
In
not
this
gonna leaf
one
blow that
area.
away, right?
Yeah,
So we
no.
need to stop
It looked like
criticizing
weather.
people for what they are doing when they're the ones actually out there doing something, and make sure our blame lies on the people who are actually responsible for the harm being caused, not the people who are responding to it in the best way they can figure out in the moment. So I was sitting there thinking about, I was like, is it worthwhile to continue engaging in this tactic? if you
Mm-hmm.
know what you're going to be met with every night. And it takes a real toll on people's health, right? That's part
Mm-hmm.
of the reason I assume you had a more intense reaction to it than I did. Is because you've had more previous exposures than I have, and also some other underlying health conditions I don't have, which probably made it
Yeah.
more impactful, right? So given that, is it worth encouraging people to continue out going to do that? And so I was like, well, as we're getting ready for our conflict resolution for anti-fascist community learning lab coming up in a couple weeks, let me practice what I'm preaching and look back at history. So if I look back at history, um, the student nonviolent coordinating committee and the folks who were organizing the lunch sit-ins, and remembering that this was not Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself alone doing this. There was an entire infrastructure of people built up over years, of whom he was one figurehead. And it's become the most important in a way to erase all the work everyone else around him was doing. But like students and young people in particular engaging in these sit ins, were going back and knew what they were up against, were knew what kind of physical and emotional response that we're going to get from angry white folks. And they
They're
weren't doing
trained.
it from, behind a protester in a line of people. We know about 8, 10 people going to a sit-in at a lunch counter, maybe more, maybe fewer. And that continuing antagonization made it very clear who the true oppressor and aggressor was and who was not, because they were willing to sit there and confront that violence day in, day out until they said, fine, just serve them. Right.
Yeah.
Our friends over at the Lois Curtis Center posted something today, about a sit-in that happened in Kansas, which is not where we think was the front lines of the civil rights strike, but like 8 or 10 kids got together. They kept going back to the rec hall every day for like 2 weeks until they finally like, it's costing me too much money, just serve them. And they did not have to have the entire city with them. 8 or 10 kids who just decided this is what we're doing and then did it and did not back down when their parents said it's not safe, when people told them that's not the right way to protest. You're blah, 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 blah. You're making more enemies than friends in the way you're going about this. Like, all that
Yep.
nonsense we hear every time, but they did it. And then once they desegregated that one rec hall, all the other ones in the city did the same. Right. So looking at with an actual implementable strategy, a clear demand, and like that unwavering solidarity, you do not need everyone on your side. With a small group of people,
Mm-mm.
you can create a tremendous impact.
Mm-mm.
Then I look
Yeah.
back at Black Wall Street, look back at Move Compound, look at the places where people went to a more avoidance strategy of like self-segregation and separation of like, we're going to do us over here, y'all do whatever over there. And
Rosewood.
Rosewood, all the black towns and cities sitting at the bottoms of reservoirs and lakes that got flooded out of existence on purpose. And it's like that. I'm not saying that's a wrong strategy. It seems like a perfectly reasonable
It's a
strategy.
very
It's
good
not
strategy. We just know
been
what
a
they can do.
long term, and it for whatever period of time those communities survive, just like the one we were talking about in Brazil. If y'all survived 100 years in the mountains of Brazil fighting off the Portuguese and freeing people from enslavement, it's people who lived their entire lives in a free African kingdom in Brazil, not knowing anything about
100 years of
Portuguese
freedom.
rule. 100 years of freedom is better than zero. It's no reason not to
Shit.
do it.
Do it.
And, fell
It
eventually.
might. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be an end, and the way
So
they end is, if there's ever been a race riot in history, including what we saw last night, there is no such thing as some circumstance where all of a sudden a bunch of Mexicans or a bunch of brothers, a bunch of sisters, just all of a sudden out of fucking nowhere started rioting because it was a Sunday. You know what I mean? And so as we see this happen again and again and again, what we know from history, from history, is if we self-segregate without there being connectivity and figuring out how we are going to support those communities when they come, not if, when. Portland been knowing they were coming. Those people on the front lines, as the folks who you had spoken to, right? The people at the counters, as the protesters who I worked with at the University of Colorado, we were trained. Each and every person at the front lines is part of the discussions and understands exactly what they're doing and where they're going. It is not a mystery to them. I don't like it. I don't think it's wonderful. Like, we don't know what the hell they're getting sprayed with nightly, and it's so caustic, and they're not the ones doing it, and they're not the ones doing it.
So I don't necessarily have I mean, I do have a conclusion, which is yes, continuing to go and confront them if you're willing to put your body and your life on the line for the people, for the cause, is a worthy strategy, even if you know what's coming, because it shows who the true oppressor is. It makes it very clear who's engaging in active violence and who is advocating for their First Amendment rights, second, third, fourth, all the amendment rights at this point.
Yeah, 2 down so far. 2 down so far. Come on. We can hold the other ones. God.
Another thing to promote, some folks, I don't know them personally, but I consider them my friends and colleagues at Defend and Recruit North Carolina are hosting a Fourth Amendment workplace training of trainers coming up. I'll mark this clip so we can find that one too. Highly recommend. They've been very, very effective in organizing to support and doing by us, for us organizing in Latino communities primarily, and then pulling in other people with resources to help support that work. They're the ones who help lead that Avelo Airlines boycott. They're the ones who help push ICE out of Charlotte, North Carolina in record time. They're doing really, really good work. So again, another organization where if you have time and energy to go do that work and help teach workplaces what protocols and policies and signage they can set up to discourage within every legal limit of the law ICE from being able to access the premises, go do that. If you don't got time or energy for that, but you still have a job and have a little bit of resources, donate some money to them. Like, figure out where you can support what's happening to move where you can, because the overwhelm that sends us into those freeze or flight or fight responses is not what's going to help us be as impactful as we need to be in this moment. And there isn't one right way, right? There's no one right way. Nobody's going to do anything perfectly. There's not a solution, even though, us pundits on the internet believe we all have them. Like, there is not a solution. So go out and, meet people. Go to whoever's hosting the bystander training, whoever's hosting the know your rights training, whoever's hosting, all the things, and start building connectivity and relationships, because we need both strategies. We need the people who are willing to go out and protest every night. We also need the people who are starting the, organic permaculture farms out in the wilderness off the, off the grid, for when the people in the streets need somewhere to escape to. We need to be building community in all these ways and not get caught up in what white supremacy and colonization has taught us about superiority and needing to prove that I'm right, or letting my ego get in the way, when it's really about us and recognizing myself as part of the collective, not a hero, not the one, not the only one who knows the right way to do things, but like, nah, I'm here to be a part of the collective. The collective's moving this way, let's go. It's not where I would have gone, but I'm here for the collective, so let's go. Someone's doing something that's out of integrity, I cannot be a part of that. That is out of integrity with what I'm here for. I'm going over there. May or may not be a reason that we need to fight with that person publicly. Maybe they need publicly dragged, maybe they don't. It really depends on the circumstances. And again, these are the things that I'm really looking forward and getting into in more depth with the conflict resolution for anti-fascist 2-week community learning lab starting February 10th. Sign up today, strategyindsolidarity.com.
Yeah, it is exciting that I will say, like, being solution minded and taking action is, for me, I sound like James Earl Jones, is for me the opportunity and issue at hand, right? To which you spoke, and it's for everybody. And I'm seeing that the role that I used to play most effectively, which was to agitate people into awareness, agitate people into action. Is one of my kids back there? Who's that? What's going on?
Yeah, but we're recording, so you can say half.
Oh, but I don't care. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, bringing anybody on screen. You're right. So going to
and again, just to be clear, they are not like your children. We are not a couple. We do not have.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I'm sorry. That's my friend. That's my bud. I'm excited to see.
I mean,
my
culturally,
buddy.
people know what you mean, right?
Yeah, no,
because we
white
care
people
about
listen
each
to this
other's
too. I
children,
forget.
but just
White people hear this too, and I don't want them confused. It's Black History Month. If I say my children in a very not Michael Jackson and very okay way, I am an auntie who can be trusted,
yes,
and I spend the time with children with their parents because I want everyone to be safe. That's all.
you are a
All
trusted
right.
adult in my children's lives, and my youngest child in particular
There we
adores
go.
you.
So, all that said, what the hell was I talking about?
I'm sorry. We were talking about the role you used to play was agitating
Oh yeah,
people
yeah,
into
yeah, yeah,
action, and I
yeah.
believe there was a
And
now.
educating, and right, and educating, and like, hey, you need to know this, and hey, maybe if you knew this history, that would make you feel this way, and hey, maybe if you watched what me and my friends did here, here, or here, that would make you feel away, or hey, maybe if you knew what my parents were doing, that would make you feel away. And understanding that, like, if I'm going through the thing that my parents went through, that my grandparents went through, that their grandparents went through, that maybe we're not the goddamn issue. And maybe you would like to join us in trying to resist this thing that is going to get you too. And that my when it, okay, see, it's happening again. When I get
Go with it. Let it
passionate that
go.
way, no, I am. When
Oh,
I get that passionate about it, though, I mean, the reason that this tone evolves, right, is one, it was very, very practiced, right? It certainly was very practiced. Two, it certainly is channeling a history of speakers, of Maya, of Nina Simone, of El Haj Malik El Shabazz, certainly of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who, in terms of iconography, for me, is problematic in how it is the icon, not
the way
he.
he's been
The
weaponized and
icon, the
appropriated.
icon has been weaponized and appropriated, right, by white folks, is to try to, like, why can't you be more like, listen, y'all motherfuckers killed this dude before he was even in his 40s. That's why. That's why I can't be more like. I know what you're saying when you say that. I'm disinterested. Thanks, though. You know what I mean? We like this.
I mean,
And I've gotten this old.
the way you used to say that to people is so impactful because you'd be like, they killed him when he was like 33 years old. If you, I'm, 40. If you tell me you want me, you want me to be like him, you're telling me you want me dead.
You want me in the ground? I'm not interested. I plan to get very old. My beard is turning white. It is not white yet. I'm planning. I don't know how realistic it is given the world, but I'm planning to get very old. And I know that my role now has changed, right? When we were down in down in San
Somewhere
Francisco,
voyaging
right?
through time and space.
Right. When we were in San
Through
Francisco and I
that
walked
crystal you got on your
backstage,
wrist.
and we walked backstage. I don't have it right now. And we walked backstage. I walked backstage. What am I talking about? And I went backstage.
Just for everybody else, Carlos got this amazing bracelet with this like gigantic volcanic crystal thing on it. It looks like something a very much cooler than the actual Doctor Who would use to travel through time and space. Okay,
It was
anyway.
gifted to me. Well, I want to be clear as well. It was gifted to me recently by our friends at Frock on
Alberta.
Alberta, and they are for those who are, and people do, you like it. It's one of the places I love their clothes, and they like it when I wear their clothes, and so we sometimes reciprocate, and they did, and it was lovely, and it was a lovely holiday gift, and I do like it quite a lot. And
None of
I
these are
went
paid
back.
advertisements. We're just trying to uplift our
Oh,
friends
these are
and the
friends.
people
These
who
are
we
friends. These
appreciate.
are small businesses, small local things, and or people who know the real stuff. Find them. They're the good people. We're not trying to sell you stuff.
Okay, my apologies. So
So,
time travel through time and space in the Bay
time
Area
travel
this
to time and
weekend.
space. I went backstage, and once I was backstage behind the curtain, went into the room with into the green room with the comedians. The stillness and quietude was upsetting. And this was in San Francisco, right? Like folks are more or less, I mean, aside the growing disparity of wealth and opportunity, um, folks are trying to just live their lives, but they are also witnessing and psychically experiencing everything that all the rest of us are going through, and they're in the states. So whether or not you are the state being attacked right now, we feel this, and you can feel it, right? It was tight back there. And so I did, the thing that I do. I just started speaking to that with people directly. I got up. I was like, oh, I'm the senior in here. Okay, here we go. I got up, started shaking hands, introducing myself, and speaking to it. Hey, yeah, a room full of autistics who are feeling really weird because this feels crazy, doesn't it? Huh? We're clowns, and the world is falling apart. And we just found out that the president did X, Y, Z. We're going to find out more gross things that we don't want to know. We don't want it in our heads. It's coming. There's nothing we can do. You throw the baby off the boat. Great, fantastic. I hate it. Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to all of us? It didn't happen to us, but why do I got to know this? Is it new? No, not at all. This is not different than anything that was ever happening with Andrew Jackson, George fucking Washington, Jefferson,
Columbus,
any of them,
Cortez.
all of them, to a one. So no surprise. They just never stopped, and the sheet that they were hiding under got lifted up. So we knew, they knew, and speaking to it, like basically said, like, look, we know what time it is. If you know what time it is, if you know history, and you happen to be somebody who is being given both the opportunity and responsibility to be in front of people, and they're trusting you to say anything, and you have a microphone and an audience, and we had a sold out audience 2 nights in a row, you better say something. And it doesn't got to be like, you don't got to do what I do. You ain't got to get into no politics. You better make people laugh. They here to forget something for a minute. They here to feel good for a second. We celebrate at night. This was taught to us by the queers. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. We bury our lost in the morning. We do the work in the afternoon. And at night, we go out, we laugh, we dance, we celebrate, we drink, we fuck. We do not stop. We do not stop. That joy that we cultivate, that we create, that we sit in together, if even for a moment, that is what will get us through this. We cannot let go. We have to remember our ancestors got through this. Somebody was making Harriet Tubman giggle her ass off to get through all that bullshit. Somebody was making John Brown feel like a goofball when they was getting through all that shit.
No, they were as serious as they were in their pictures their whole lives.
Right. Like the same way that people got shocked seeing Martin Luther King shooting pool 5-10 years ago when that photo finally came out. Bruh, most of those photos
in the Caribbean.
Most of those photos should be in color. Those are in black and white specifically to make it look like history, to make it look like it was far away and unachievable. Those were very, very young men. There are color photos available. This is not ancient history. This is now. There is no such thing as history. That is a weapon of white supremacy. Time is not a construct. Everything I have said is happening. They're here. I have said from time immemorial, not from time immemorial, I haven't been here. I have said from every single time, every single group that I have ever worked with, anything that you would ever be doing during the civil rights movement, you think, during the Vietnam War, during World War II, during 9/11, whatever you think you would be doing, you're doing it right the fuck now. Right now. And if it's listening to this for inspo or possibility modeling or oh shitness, you know what? That's part of it. That is part of it. That's part of the journey. If it's watching shows on TV that make you go, oh, fuck, oh my God, that might really be happening. and it's trying to escape, but you can't escape it, and you feel it just digging at the back of your neck. Guess what? That's good. That is part of the activation. The way to make that itch go away is to find the community that is living that same experience, can speak to it, and is ready to live it with you and guide you through this part of the evolution. But we are not, as Theresa said, and they lied to us. They lied to us. Okay, I'm not suggesting that you came up with the idea, or that you're a bad person for wanting to be the main one, or you want to go lead a march, or you want to go take over the fucking Costco and be down there and like guard it or whatever. Like, that's all good ideas, but nobody can do these things alone. Nobody. You go marching out alone, no community, you're going to get shot. That's all that's going to happen. You get gassed in your face by 12 of them, that's not going to help anybody. We go together. And the youth are going to be here longer than us. That's why we goddamn listen to them. They're supposed to be here longer than us. I have already buried one of mine. I'm not interested in doing that again. And so I will sacrifice my time, my effort, my voice, because up until the point that I am called upon to sacrifice my body, that's what I have left. I highly encourage that by bringing my voice, I'm hoping that I am bringing the lessons that can bring us closer to peace, truly, which is a place of solidarity, which is a place of working in concert with the rhythms of the world, the rhythms of each other, the rhythms of life, the rhythms of music, the rhythms of flow. You know I love rhythm. And that opportunity to drum for joy and not for victory, not for war, to have a sweat that is not a warrior sweat, a family sweat, simply to recognize our elders. For those who understand. That is the goal, right? But to get there, evidently, not by our choosing, but somehow by our connectivity in spirit and in a planet that you can't get off of, nor can they. There's energy that has decided that we got to walk through tear gas to get there right now, and bullets. And evil pudding trapped in skin with bad hair leading it. And it's not cute. But if you go back again, right? You ain't even got to just look. Another thing we could look at. You could look
pudding trapped in bad skin and hair.
Horrible. You could look back at
everything else you said gave me shivers.
People.
I'm there with you, but that was I mean, true.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, but it's true. You can look back at history; they're always ridiculous.
Yes.
You look at history. You look at the fucking speeches that H-man gave. He looked like a freak. He was on so much goddamn meth, he could not stop jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there doing coke in public. They're rubbing their teeth. They're doing the shit with their nose and not being able to pay any goddamn attention or answer questions. What are we doing? We can resist.
We sure can. I got a couple of things I want to say. And
please say them.
In addition to all the things you just shared, but I feel like we should take a quick break real quick and maybe get more tea for our throats.
I mean, we might be getting there too. You know. We'll see how it goes. So what are you saying?
I want to take a break and go get some tea, and I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, let's take a break at this very strange time to take a break, and we will be right back. You can tea, I can tinkle, and here we go.
Sounds good. Thanks.
If debtor's prison does become a thing again, I am going to be the best prisoner. I promise. Okay, we're back.
Entire country will be there with you.
Yep. I still have an audience.
I just went, and as I was filling my tea, I looked out my window and there were like 3 little brown birds with orange chests hopping around out there. And there was a little tiny colibri, hummingbird, going to around these little tiny purple flowers out in the yard, which again, I'm like, why are there flowers? And I guess it's February now. That's better than December or January. But the hummingbird's alive because of them. It was so nice to look out there and just see life, right? And that's the thing
Yeah.
that helps keep me going is just those little tiny things, the little flowers, the moments of beauty, a hug from my kids, like those things that remind me that like life is still worth living. And actually nothing around me is on fire right now. Like, yes, metaphorically, all the empire is crumbling, but like my house is not on fire, my car is not on fire, my children are not on fire. We're actually physically and materially okay in this moment. And us being okay does not take away from the fact that other people are not. Other people not being okay don't take away from the fact that we are like physically okay in this moment. And it's one thing I want to touch on is just the nervous system regulation stuff. And it's one of those things that once you have acquired some of the knowledge about the human nervous system, you start using these words in ways that you assume everyone knows what you're talking about. But, but not everyone does. And you see things going around sometimes where people are like, you didn't make any sense to be regulated when everything's falling down around you. I'm like, no, it doesn't. But it's much easier to navigate it if you have skills and tools for getting your frontal lobe back online when the world is collapsing around you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just that little bit of wanting to clarify for folks. And, we have some intro to the community resiliency model and some other things up on the app at strategyindsolidarity.org if folks are interested in getting more of those resources and tools right now that are available in our free basic membership. Don't cost you anything. That's just to help us understand what happens to our brains and our bodies when we experience stress or trauma, and also when we're reminded of stress or trauma, and when we're living through chronic stress and trauma. And the more that we understand how our bodies and brains react in those moments, the more intentional we can be in choosing how to move forward so that we're not only moving from reactivity, which in an acute instance of like a tiger attacking you in the wilderness or get into a car wreck or things that is like an acute trauma in the moment can absolutely save your life. Is not a thing we want to never have work, or that we don't want to have our nervous system ever go into a parasympathetic response or whatever it is. It's just like we want to be able to recognize when we are stuck in one of those responses in a moment in which it is not serving us, in a moment where we're reacting as if there was an immediate fire in my physical environment when actually there's not. Me panicking as if everything around me is on a fire when it literally is not on fire does not help me figure out how I go out and take the actions I can in my community, in my city, in my sphere, to plant some seeds of hope and community and connection and possibility for what's still to come.
Yeah, I agree. To plant and to cultivate, right? Again, for me, and I'm a little bit older than you. That 8-10 year thing makes a difference for typically for our where we stand, and only now do I really feel and understand that, because I understand quite clearly that aside AARP writing me and all the other things like that, I've got like 20 years in the game, 30 years on the planet, give or take, if everything goes exactly right. Maybe 40, who knows? I hope not. That's a lot. But throughout all of that, right, the possibility of having the opportunity to continue to share what I have had the opportunity to learn, to witness, such that anything I can share can go forward with people, as their young people, as they're moving their thing, and also to create space. That was the thing that you were talking about that really resonated with me in the offerings that we do around nervous system, right? It really is not that we are in any way saying that we are creating a moment of perfection, right? We're talking about creating a moment of space, right? A moment of solace. That hummingbird that Theresa spoke to, just saying that breath that you take, and in that breath decide, yeah, no, I'm not. This is not the thing for me to engage in. Not because what happened may not have been upsetting or vile or anything else, but that energy is your energy. You can put it wherever you want,
But it's finite.
and it's finite. It's not forever. It's not forever. And I have used quite a lot of mine, and I've lived a lot of lives, and I'm very happy. And I want for folks who may feel tunnel vision around this moment, and it is an important moment for focus to get through this moment, to get to the next moment, and or create the moment for the next, such that there is an opportunity to experience whatever. I'm not, it's not my life. I'm not here to tell you, but to have a life and to be here. And
Yeah.
I hope that's what I'm offering. And I
Well,
hope that the things we're offering will help that, Go ahead.
as a recovering perfectionist myself, just recognizing how debilitating perfectionism is, like how many things I didn't even dare to try because I didn't think I'd be able to do it exactly right the first time. How much of that perfectionism is what comes out when people are sitting here criticizing other people on social media instead of getting out in the streets and meeting their neighbors and organizing themselves. Like that perfectionism really holds us back from so much. There's nothing perfect out there. There is no perfect hero. The more you keep looking for a perfect candidate, perfect hero, perfect job, perfect partner, like they do not exist. You will crap on so many good things by wanting them to be perfect instead of recognizing the gift that they have, right? There's not one perfect activist who's doing everything right. It's like, yeah, move where you can move. You know where your skills are. Recognize what people's superpowers are. Recognize what their weaknesses are. Was
Yeah.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a perfect person? Absolutely not. Was he a
Mm-mm.
man socialized in patriarchy? Yes. Probably did some dumb shit to women. Whether it was lies
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
CIA or not, I'm sure. Like, I don't need him to be perfect to learn the lessons that he taught, to appreciate the model that he set for how we can be most impactful. I don't need him to be a perfect person to remember that he got killed when he started talking about economics and how to bring people together in ways that were beyond race, and
yeah.
not to diminish his legacy in
No,
that way, right? But
but beyond. It
that's
wasn't
when they took them
just,
both out. That's when
yeah,
they took Malcolm
yeah,
X out as well. Was when we went to Mecca and saw it was white people at Mecca as well, and was like, oh, maybe we have some things in common.
yeah.
Um, and that's a very
Well,
very
not
simplified version, but
and seeing, what how Islam was actually practiced was really the thing, and that it really is about not about dividing humans. Like that wasn't the goal. The goal of Islam has never been that we need everybody separate. It's about trying to figure out where the shared tables are, where are the shared seats, where are the times that we need our own room. An exploration. Judaism at its base is an exploration of text, right? It's certainly there are patriarchal lineages and rights that get abused. It can be very foul when that happens. That's true of anything. That's true of anything. And Malcolm, as he was before he came back as Malik, right, really was in a place of defending a belief system that had been built um, on the rule of a patriarch who was quite abusive, right? And he was trying to find again perfection, the pureness, the like what is the actual answer? Where's the actual voice of God? It took him much further than it would take many of us. But he was not going to stop the search, right? All of us don't have that life. If he comes back with the message, that's the point. Everybody don't got to go get the message. Listen to the messengers. That's the point. Everybody got a different role. That's the point. And that's why he became dangerous, both to the nation and to the FBI and CIA. And and it did mean also. And it was more of a PS. And that's the only reason I would clarify that, because again, I don't want people walking away thinking that we're saying that all of a sudden El Haj Malik El Shabazz started just loving up on white people, and like not at all.
No, thank you for that clarification.
He understood quite clearly where he was coming back to, and quite clearly what the risks were to do so, and quite clearly had a message that he needed to share and finish, right? In the same way that there are victims of Trump who held on to this life for long enough to get their vision published because they needed the truth of what they had experienced to get out there. And they knew that they were done at the end. They didn't want to be here anymore. The torture of having to live that in their bodies and their spirit, not being able to clear, not having the tools, not being strong enough to save that inner child, to then be vulnerable enough to share with us, such that we can learn from that, right? And learning from that doesn't mean then, as you said, well, now the world is shit. No, shitty people have been in the world. Now we can protect our children who are here by guiding them, telling them the truth. They ain't got to hug their nasty uncle. In fact, maybe don't have him over. And let's deal with this. Like, that was the one thing that really, really hit me that earlier too, is that I was trying to understand why these folks are so devout. And I know, but you get reminded to their patriarchs. I reminded folks of Morgan Freeman's history, and a quote that even in full is not it, where he was critiquing Black history and doing it from a very diffuse place that is not, it just wasn't it. And I reminded them of his personal history with his granddaughter family and abuses and what have you, as all of these things are coming out. Same defenses, same nonsense. That's from the Inquirer. They denied it, but she's gone now. You can't even say that. Yeah. Oh, yeah? The granddaughter that he abuses isn't here anymore? She's gone now? What happened? Let's finish the story. And they don't. Right? And it's like all of these people protecting the septuagenarians and octogenarians who they know were abusers and or are abusers, and trying to protect their legacies. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, you're trying to protect your peepaw. You're trying to protect your uncle. You're trying to protect your own memory. You're trying to not have your shit get exposed. Because if that's true, then that's my shit. And wait a minute, hold up. Nah, you're supposed to spank kids. Nah, that you're supposed to hug your grandpa. Nah, don't even worry. Nah, that's family. You get family thicker than blood thicker than water. You can't have, they're trying to break us up. Why are you talking about a Black man bad in Black History Month? Like, my God, if the patriarchy is more important to you, and you're going to pretend like I'm somehow discrediting Black History Month by telling the truth about what a Black man who happened to be an abuser said about Black History Month. And what I'm reminding you is the abuser part. I don't care about the quote. Like, those are the times that the creme skills of, for me, going, okay, everybody not ready to come. You ain't ready to come. People who are ready to come on. Here's some more information. Let's just like we don't have to do this. Let's get the stink out of the bathroom so we can use it. And I'm not gonna spend my days fighting with defenders of this nonsense and bots. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Debate is not useful. We're past that. We're past that.
I mean, I'm sure there's times and places it still could be, but not as a primary
It
mode of
could be.
engaging in this moment. If there's something where we're actually open to differing perspectives and analyzing them and seeing, where we land in different lines of thought. But so often that debate is just like these YouTube reaction things where it's just like, here's two people who refuse to change their minds. Let's let them yell at each other. Like that's not
Yeah.
useful. But I did want to clarify, given what you just shared as well. It's like when I say there's no perfect leaders or heroes, I'm not saying excuse abusers and like enable
Mm-mm.
abusers. Hold them accountable
Mm-mm.
for sure. But you can still learn a lesson. You can still learn a lesson. Everybody is not only the best thing they did in life, they're not only the worst thing they did in life. You can learn a lesson from this thing where they were brilliant, so they're a fucked up abuser over here. Let's make sure we're teaching our children how to hold their own bodily autonomy and not be forcing them to never be able to say no or hug people don't want to hug or whatever. Like both things can be true at the same time. We don't need everyone to be perfect to have something to offer to the movement. That does not mean we enable and protect abusers who are actively causing harm in the community.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
the other thing I want to come back to was by the time people were putting up free Don Lemon posts, I think he was out on bail. Like it happened pretty quickly. But looking at that church protest, and it made me think about it because of that quote you shared. I can't remember who said it first, but that quote of we buried our dead in the morning, we did our activist work in the afternoon, and we partied all night. Really
Hmm.
coming out of I think,
That's the queer. Yeah, the queer
protests
folks.
when the government was failing to take almost any action to mitigate the AIDS pandemic when it was
Yep.
ravaging the gay and queer communities in the 80s and into the early 90s.
Yep.
And ACT UP being one of those organizations that was highly impactful and again did not have to have public support and everyone on board. I think that a fairly large movement, at the time, but it was certainly
Huge.
by no
Huge.
means, broadly publicly supported.
Oh
And
no.
their famous protests, which also I'm partly familiar with because it was reenacted on Pose. If you haven't watched Pose, that's a good season. That was a really good season when they were
It
doing
was
all the
no, it was a good it was a good season. It
it
was a good
was
season. It was a good
and
season.
not remembering that is real life and real people and not just only on TV. Right. So
Yeah,
looking
I
at
was in
that
San
church
Francisco when
protest.
Diana died. So I saw that. I saw the nuns when they came out like in force. Like they walked down my block on 18th and Cap. So like
Mm,
when you talk about seeing it on Pose, I'm like, on Pose, you mean the oh right, yes, of
yes,
course,
we've
because
already
ACT UP
established
and
you're older
right
than me and you were in
that
San
I'm old as
Francisco
shit. No,
in
I
Pose.
know I'm old as shit. Okay, anyway,
Anyway,
you were
point
saying,
being, ACT UP organized that church protest where they went into the church because the church was speaking against protection and birth control and calling it a plague from God, or I don't remember all the details along those lines, and being like, no, you're not going to sit here and erase us and let us die in the streets and preach this hate. And so watching the folks in Minneapolis who interrupted the church service where the pastor is on like a
ice.
field director for ICE and also a
Yep.
pastor on Sundays and being like, "No, you don't get to say you can come into our churches and arrest people and no longer let churches be sanctuaries, but we can't come in and protest you here in the middle of your church service and then arresting
Yeah.
people for that." And so thinking about, that tactic likely was not something they just thought up. Maybe they did. I mean, it's relevant. He's a protester, but like we are all learning from those that came before us. We don't have to start from scratch. We have the entire history, documented history of humanity available to us. We have ACT UP in the 80s. We got the Panthers. We got Martin Luther King Jr. We got the anti-fascists in Europe and World War II and World War I and the Russian Revolution and the Cuban Revolution. Like we have so much history available to us. We don't need to sit here acting like this is all brand new and no human has ever survived this before. We have more comfort and more ease and more information and more resources available to us than any of our ancestors ever did who survived much, much worse with much, much less. And so just really wanting people to be conscious and thinking about we know what kinds of strategies work. We have documented evidence and not just falling on reactivity and hopelessness and fear in the moment, but really being willing to move beyond, hot takes and posts on the internet and really getting out there and literally, do you know your neighbors? Like you can just start there.
Mhm.
You don't have to organize a revolution tomorrow. You don't need to start your own protest. You don't need to make up a flyer for a general strike. No one else is organizing with you. You can just go meet your neighbors and see if they need anything and let them know they can call you if you do, right? Like that kind of organizing on the local level, I think, is what's so important right now. And when there's movement, when there is energy behind something like that general strike in Minneapolis, jump on it. You know, we don't all have to be perfect or have all had the same idea to be like, yeah, we're moving that way. Let's
Jump
go.
on it,
Let's
jump on
go.
it, and jump on it.
Um, but learning those lessons and not erasing and ignoring them in this moment. Like, we're not gonna organize a revolution with like TLDR hot takes. Like, you gotta go
No,
read a book, go read some biographies, go get inspired by what the folks before us accomplished, and with respect, if and when appropriate, you know, call on their spirits for support, whatever your religious or spiritual leanings may be. You know, we are not in this alone. We're not in this and alone in our houses. We're not in this and alone in our cities or communities or states, even. We're not alone in this in time. Like, there are so many. It's like, you know, it is exhausting because you want things to happen more quickly than they do. And it seems like the answer is so easy. But if we think about it less as a fight that we're either going to win or lose and more as a relay race that we are picking up the torch from those who came before and passing on to those yet to come, then we realize where we really are in this thing. Justice is not a fight and then it's over and then it'll be done because, you know, look at most revolutions around the world. Things get pretty messy after the revolution. Just because you win that fight or that battle or that revolution doesn't mean there's some utopia on the other side. If what we really are moving towards is evolution and justice and like a thriving future for all of humanity, then we have to recognize that is not something we're going to see in our lifetimes. But we can plant those seeds and we can carry the torch to the part we can carry it, and we can pass it on to those who are coming and make it about our role in that evolution of humanity, not whether I get to be the hero of this chapter of this, you know, my own book or whatever. It's a hard thing to do given our socialization at this point. It's so much individualism and superhero movies and things that make everyone feel like they got to be the one or it's not worth doing, when it's like, no, we each have our little small role to play, like all those
yeah,
fishies on the screen behind you. We don't have to be the one. We just need to make sure we're moving. And when it's time to go, let's go.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's true. It's true. And even for those of us who find ourselves in different positions, right? Like, I know that it can feel wild and wildly contradictory for me and for us to be sat behind microphones telling other people you're not the one and having, you know, stupid follower accounts and whatever. Like, but the thing is, that's the skill. I don't have a different thing. If I had a different thing, I would do that. I wanted to be Che. I don't have that. That's not me. I don't have that skill. I have this skill. And so I have to amplify it to the best of my ability. And I'm deeply connected to the movements, but all I can do is to articulate the truths of it. Right. And that's how I've found myself in the places I have. But that's my skill, and
Well, and it's not
understanding
all
that
you
and
do. That's an
embracing that is the thing.
understatement. That's not true.
Well,
That's not all you
it
do.
is, but it is like it true, but like it's verbalization and it is some organizing for sure, and right, it is not like
It's showing
hey,
up when
let's
people
go.
ask you to show up.
Absolutely, absolutely, but I ain't trying to get nobody to go like run at no tanks, and I'm not like you know what I'm saying. Like that's not it. That's not what I do. I when I could show up that way, I would show up if asked, but you know, aside from a march or two, like I'm not trying to like lead nobody into no bayonet. Like I'm good. If it's there, it's there. I'm clear, right? But yeah, no, this okay, thank you. That's fair. This place, this position from which we are speaking, from which I'm speaking, I'm not speaking from no experience, right? Um, everybody's just got a role. This is the time for me to have this role. It would be goofy if I were doing this and I had the experience only that I had up until the point that I was 21. That would not be appropriate. I could not say these things with any kind of gravitas because it would only have come from books. That's not the same thing. And you know, so just find the lessons where you can. I'm still trying to learn lessons from like I said, I want to hear from the youth. I want to know what we're getting to. How can I help it? I have some ideas. They're useful. I can still play pretty well, but like, you know, also I can fuck off very well. I don't have to be the one. You know what I mean? I'm doing this. This is what I got. And along with this, we have opportunities for you to join us. As Theresa had said earlier, we would very, very, very much like it if you are interested in joining us in very deep discussions and practice over a 2 week period after two different opportunities to be with us and train either live or asynchronously. Theresa, can you speak to that opportunity a little bit?
As I might have mentioned already once or twice, we have a new offering coming up. Conflict Resolution for Anti-Fascists is a 2-week community learning lab. We will have a live
Two.
workshop on either February 10th, that's a Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning, or February 12th, that's a Thursday at 6 p.m. in the evening, all on Pacific time because that's where we are. But we tried to offer the same workshop at 2 different times so that if folks can't make it because of time zone or work schedules or whatever, you got another chance to come live to get the same content. And then for the 2 weeks after the live workshop, we will be engaging in daily discussion, practice exercises, brainstorming next steps to really think about how to make this applicable so that we're not just talking about things abstractly, but really applying them to our lives and thinking about what does it mean to engage conflict intentionally and strategically in this moment outside of whatever scripts we've inherited. Because we've inherited a lot of scripts. Some of us were taught to be conflict avoidant and people pleasers and say yes and have a hard time saying no or advocating for our own needs. Some of us are overly good at advocating for others, whether they want us to or not, and need to work on some of our own like saviorism issues. Some of us were trained to be hyper masculine and aggressive and coerce and command and get their way no matter what. And so just looking at the ways we've been taught to deal with conflict, looking at the ways we've been taught to protest, and what does it mean to do that in the face of a fascist authoritarian regime, and using fascism not only in the sense of like Italian anti-fascists starting in World War II, but there was a quote up from Langston Hughes I saw today. It was like, fascism is what Black folks in America have always known, right? It's a new word for a
Mm-hmm.
very old concept, and that's the way we're using it. And looking at lessons from the ancestors, from Hatui, who was, leading Taino revolt when Columbus first arrived, to the Panthers and Move and the folks all over Brazil and the U.S., looking well beyond the U.S. for examples of resistance and revolutionary movements, and remembering that we don't have to. There is no endpoint, but we do need to be strategic in how we're doing this. And so just we have some frameworks and some tools to share to start thinking about conflict, how conflict within coalitions and movements needs to be dealt with in different ways than we deal with conflict with fascists who are trying to destroy or imprison us. We need different strategies and tactics depending on what we're trying to accomplish. Are we trying to strengthen our resistance movements? Or are we trying to weaken the regime? How do we do both at the same time? So very much looking forward to that, looking forward to people joining us and sharing the movements and strategies that they find inspiring, and building community together, building some accountability to go out and take whatever action we can take in this day that is meaningful to start creating the world that we're trying to build on the other side of the fallen empire.
All right. Well, join us there. We want to see you. Remember that if this is in your feed and you missed it, there is a second weekly episode of Strategy and Solidarity Pod that is in your feed as well. That is Monday Moments. That was behind a paywall, and guess what? Both fuck paywalls. We want you to get the goodies, and also, more importantly, we're in a moment right now where we really need to be able to find grounding, and I want to get all of the tools to you, and we want to get all of the tools to you that we possibly can. We got to get through this together, so check that out.
And I will say, Conflict Resolution for Anti-Fascists, we are asking for payment because we are trying to keep our children housed and fed. Again,
Give me all your
two
dollars.
different
Don't give
sets of
us all your
children,
dollars.
not
Do not
shared
give us all
children.
your dollars.
No, it is sliding scale. $10 to $99, whatever works for your budget. One other thing I want to promote as well is our my friends and teachers over at the Last Mass Center are starting the next round of their Energy Body Mastery course live on Zoom and global around the world this Sunday, I believe. I would say that skill set that they teach there is the most impactful set of skills I found for really getting to the roots of those patterns and habits that drain our energy, that keep us stuck, that prevent us from taking action, that keep us acting in ways that are actually contrary to what we're trying to accomplish. And we don't understand why we keep wiling out in that way, even though it's not really what we're trying to do. So again, not a paid advertisement. I am a teacher in training over there, and we'll be running the general study group for the next 7 weeks as that course is running. So highly
Ooh.
encourage folks. If you're like, find yourself getting stuck in those trauma responses, if you find yourself repeating patterns you don't mean to repeat, if you find yourself overwhelmed and knowing you need to take action but you don't know what to do or how to get started, I would say if you had to pick between our thing and the other one, do both. But if you had to pick between our thing and that one, go do that one first. Right? It's that those skills are going to help you be more impactful with the content we have to offer. So Energy Body Mastery, Last Mass Center. We'll share that link as well.
All right. Hey, thanks to our good friend Emmanuel for use of the song that I now can't remember the name of, and I'm going to put in the link again, and
Love of
you're
the Earth.
hearing it. Love of the Earth, I know that. And thank you to everybody over at strategyandSolidarity.org who bring you this here very podcast. Go take care of yourself and do the best that you can this week. And we will talk to you again next time. All right. Talk to you soon.
Take good care of yourselves
Bye.
out there.